What up? It's your boy Tom, and it's Wednesday, my dudes. You know what that means. It's time for a deck profile. Before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe for future content, please. And also leave a like if you are a fan of Orcust. Now, there is some debate as to what the best engine to run with Orcust is. One of the main contenders, of course, is Scrap. If you'd like to leave your thoughts on that debate, go ahead and leave those down in the comments. But let's go ahead and get into the deck profile here. So, 3 copies of Scrap Recycler. This is your main starter. It is a normal summon. That is the main downside of this particular variant of Orcust, is that it forces you to rely fairly heavily on a normal summon, but you have pretty good consistency specifically with normal summoning this monster, as you're running 3 copies of Recycler, 3 copies of Scrap Raptor, which gets you 2 Recycler, and also 3 copies of Scrap Yard that gets you 2 Scrap Raptor, that gets you 2 Scrap Recycler. Now that is 9 starters. If you feel like playing more, you could go up to 12 by playing Fossil Dig. I'm leaving it at 9 though. Beyond that, 1 Symbol Skeleton. You only really need 1, especially in a Scrap variant. You can play a little lighter on the Orcust engine. 1 Harp Horror. It's fantastic that this card is actually legal in Master Duel. Hopefully we can follow through in the TCG with that as well. But now, unfortunately, Master Duel does limit this, Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight. The fortunate thing is, this is not a starter in Scrap Orcust. This is just another extender through your lines within your actual Orcust combo. Instead of using this as a normal summon, you just summon it off of Harp Horror, and it would bin the Nightmare, as opposed to in the TCG, you might be more used to seeing Nightmare into directly into Wand or something like that. This just kind of helps you get more Orcusts in rotation. Beyond that, we've also got 2 Orcust Nightmare and 1 Wand. Some people play 2, but I think that's all you really need. Then we've got a small danger package here. 1 Jackalope, 1 Tsuchinoko, 1 Mothman, and 3 Nessie, playing Nessie at 3 because it is the danger that searches the other dangers. For that reason, I'm playing 3 of it, and 1 copy each of the other 3, as opposed to some sort of amalgamation of 2 ofs of each of them, or something like that. And then, for the bricks, we have Crystron Rosenix and Scrap Golem. I've noticed a lot more people play Scrap Golem at 2 and Rosenix at 1. It does seem a little bit strange, but depending on the hand, they can either be soft or hard garnets. Rosenix can be discarded from hand and everything's perfectly fine. Golem could be theoretically tribute summoned, and believe it or not, that actually does come up occasionally. Tribute summoning it using Scrap Raptor's additional normal summon. But I'm more comfortable playing this at 2 because you need 1 of this in deck. When this one isn't as important because it's not always essential for your lines, drawing an extender can help you just avoid having to go through it. Specifically, like drawing a danger or Foolish Burial, something along those lines. So, moving on, 1 Raigeki, 1 Feather Duster, and 1 Lightning Storm. You could just play 3 Lightning Storm, but I have 1 of each, so yeah, we're doing that. 1 Monster Reborn, fantastic card, fantastic 1 of, and you have plenty of room for power 1 ofs in this. 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Instant Fusion. Now, of course, the Instant Fusion is the Verte target for Winda here, as you are able to summon Winda and protect it with Dingirsu. 3 Scrapyard, as I said earlier. 1 World Legacy Succession. This is a Monster Reborn specifically to a zone a link monster points to, and this is the card that you are setting off of Lib. One scrap factory. This could be searched with terraforming. More likely you're using the terraforming for this as opposed to crescendo, because normally you grab crescendo off of Galatea. Now this is a extender for the scrap line, but it sometimes comes in a little late. If you draw this plus Raptor, it's usually fine. This plus Recycler by itself, it is an extender, but depending on what hand trap your opponent is using against you, it might not help all that much. One Babel, of course, mandatory. 2 Called by the Grave, this card's fantastic. And 3 Forbidden Droplet, and 1 Crescendo. You really only need 1, especially playing this variant. Now, with Forbidden Droplet, this does allow you to go second, along with some of these power 1-ofs and going second staples. So the deck does have the ability to go second. I prefer going first, though. I think that's usually the better option, especially with Master Duel's current meta. But let's go ahead and get on into the extra deck. 1 Winda. This card's just unfair, that's all I can really say. 1 Borreload Savage Dragon. This comes up sometimes, and I mean, there's room in the extra deck for it. Usually you don't make this first turn. This usually is actually something that you make on your following turn if your opponent still has interaction that you need to play through, say on like turn 3 or something, before you go into access code. 2 Dingirsu, card's amazing, only 1 Galatea. This is probably the reason that we actually have flex spots in the extra. It's because Galatea is unfortunately at 1, but this deck makes up for it. 1 Scrap Wyvern, it's needed for your scrap combos. 1 IP Masquerena, card's fantastic. Barricade Board Blocker is just a discard outlet. 1 Verte, that's for the instant fusion. 1 Lib, this is to get to Succession in order to reborn Scrap Golem in additional time. Unicorn, just a great generic link, also plays well with Masquerena. 1 Lungirsu, this card actually does come up pretty well. And Orcustrion, nobody plays this, I'm going to be honest. I'm probably the only Orcust player that actually ever puts this in an Orcust deck, but it actually has a pretty good effect. It can sort of emulate Forbidden Droplet. It can negate the attack of basically all of your opponent's monsters. It's pretty good. 1 Appaloosa and 1 Access Code Talker, and that rounds it out. Let's go ahead and get into a game just to see what the deck does. Alright, so going into this game, I will be going first, and the hand is Terraforming, Called by Raigeki, Nightmare, Recycler. So importantly, we have our starter and an extender. Activating the Scrap Factory for later, going straight into Recycler here to dump the Rosenix. Rosenix will banish itself to get a token. Now with these 2 monsters, you link summon Scrap Wyvern. Now, Scrap Wyvern's first effect allows you to reborn a scrap monster from the graveyard and then immediately destroy a card, being that. Now, that triggers the second effect, and it also triggers Factory, meaning we can summon 2 monsters here, meaning that we do not need to go into Lib for this specific part of the combo here. Popping the Scrap Factory, since we've already used it, the first Golem will summon the Recycler, and the Recycler will bin the Harp Horror. We do not need to use World Wand, as we don't need to go into Lib. Going straight into Appaloosa here, if they had Nibiru, they should have used it earlier. Golem into Recycler a second time. Recycler will dump the Symbol Skeleton for later, go into Harp Horror for Girsu. Girsu will dump Nightmare. Now going into the Galatea here with the 2 monsters. And Galatea, of course, is an integral part of the combo here. But before activating the effect, I'll banish the Nightmare to target the Appaloosa, give it an extra 800 attack, bin the Wand, banish the Wand to summon the Nightmare back, and now we'll tuck back the Wand with Galatea, Usually you want to put that back into deck as opposed to one of the actual Orcust names. Getting a Babel off of the Galatea, you can now overlay the Galatea into Dingirsu and grab a Banished Machine and attach it as an Xyz material here. But before doing that, going to Chain Symbol Skeleton, which is now a quick effect because of Babel, putting it in the banished zone and also summoning a Girsu. Now that it's banished, I'll go ahead and attach that 2 material as with Dingirsu. Then link into Verte Anaconda. Now we have 1 extra monster, the Scrap Golem. If we had 1 more, we could have gone into Masquerena as well, but I'll just leave it at this. Verte summoning Winda. Instant Fusion will try to destroy this at the end of the turn, but Dingirsu can protect it. Now, let's see what our opponent has. Oh, and looks like they're playing back row deck. So they Lava Golem the Appaloosa and the Dingirsu, but that's okay. I'll summon the Dingirsu back and use its effect to send one of their back row to the graveyard here. Ooh, it was Skill Drain. So Skill Drain is somewhat effective against a graveyard deck, but this tells me that they are probably playing Eldritch. Lava Golem will activate its mandatory effect, and would you look at that, they are in fact playing Eldritch. Wakero is going to be summoned, and they get the Sanguine, so it will get its Banish effect on top of Dinomishus' Banish effect. So Scarlet will summon the Eldritch, followed by Dinomishus, effect resolving, banishing Dingirsu. Yikes. And then they banish my wand with Wakero. I can use Golem, accidentally put it in defense, and then activate its effect, Recycler, to get the other Recycler out of the deck, doesn't really matter, and then go into Nightmare Unicorn, discarding the Orcust Nightmare, and tucking the Eldritch back into the deck. I will activate Monster Reborn here, going into Galatea, because my wand is banished and I can't extend that way. Galatea will take the wand, put it back into deck, set a crescendo, but hopefully we won't even need to use that. Next, I'll just go into the second copy of Dingirsu here, and I can send their Wakero to the graveyard. Now, I have plenty more ways to get rid of cards here, but their board's already empty, so here I'm going to go into Longirsu, which, if I played my zones differently, could have gotten rid of more cards if my opponent had more cards. This is mainly just to put more cards back in the deck, as I have banished a lot of my engine. Then I will bin the Harpour and use it to summon the Skeleton back out of the deck, after tucking both of those with Longirsu, going into an Access Code Docker here, which theoretically could pop cards if my opponent had any. And then after that, Symbol Skeleton, bring the Longirsu back. It can attack now. Normally it can't once you activate its effect, but if you send it to Graveyard and reborn it, it forgets that it activated. So this is easily lethal, and there is nothing my opponent can do about that. And that's the final blow. Alright, so clearly this is pretty good kind of showcase of what the deck can do. You didn't get to see what the deck does with Lib, but I'm sure you can find that in just about any match of Scrap Orcust versus any deck. We didn't go through it in this one, but as you can see from this, this is a clearly powerful deck with plenty of gas. Its main weakness does rely on its normal summon and its tendency to draw bricks. You want your hand in the graveyard, basically, as opposed to your hand in your actual hand. But other than that, this deck is easily able to get you to Plat 1. It got me to Platinum, I think 2 seasons ago. Yeah, the first season that Master Duel was up, got to Platinum with this deck. So if you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe for future content, and comment in the comments section below Gamer Nene, Family Guy style. Thank you.